Hey, 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 hey. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube. My name is Jamel. This is my first YouTube video. Um, I'm fairly new, but not really new to the YouTube world. Back in the day, I used to post videos of me singing, and I stopped for a while because of some insecurities and things of that nature. However, I'm back. It's 2022. And I believe that this is the right place to be, the right time, the right hour, the right season. So yeah, this is my first video of 2022. My topic really is basically talking about the year of 2021, right? But before we get into that, I kind of want to give you a basis of why I decided to start up a YouTube channel. So, like I said, I'm new, but I'm not new to the YouTube world, so to speak. Back in the day, I would post certain videos of me singing or like church things here and there, whatever. And then I stopped. But this time around, it seems more of something I should be doing. Over the years, I've had many encounters with individuals that would say, "Oh, you need your own show. Oh, you need your own YouTube channel, etc., etc." My thing is like, who, me? Like me for real? Me? Not me. You're talking about me, right? And then you have the insecurity things. You have like, what am I going to talk about? Where do I fit in this world where there's so many artistic people, there's so many like comedic people, there's so many great stories out there? But I believe everyone has a story to tell. I believe everyone in life has great experiences, and what better place to share that, than with a platform such as YouTube. I believe everybody goes through different things, and some people go through the same things as other people, and oftentimes you feel alone. You feel like you go through those things by yourself. And I believe that YouTube is a great platform to share so many different things. There's so many different things on YouTube that you can do. Anyway, but that's besides the point. So I don't know if you would classify this video as a story time, because I've been doing my research about YouTube videos and things of that nature. So I don't know if you would consider this a story time or a testimonial. But like I said, the topic that I want to talk about is the year 2021. But in order to talk about 2021, I got to talk a little bit about 2020. So let's talk about it. All right. So let's go into 2020. 2020, and a little bit before 2020, I was engaged, and I was living with my parents in Brooklyn, New York, Williamsburg. And some things transpired to where, some things happened to where we kind of had to move out from where we was living. And on top of that, I was getting married. So I kind of made like drastic decisions, like quick decisions that I needed to make moves, because I didn't know where I was going to go. So I ended up moving to Jersey, right? So I moved to Jersey. Now, mind you, prior to that, my thoughts of moving into my own place and in my own space wasn't necessarily the way that it happened, or the way that I thought it would happen. I had a process in my head, or at least an ideal way of how I wanted to move out, like most people do. I wanted to have money saved. I wanted to be in a safe place financially, emotionally. That did not happen at all. It wasn't like that at all. I pretty much had to up and go. I didn't know where to go. I just had to up and go. So I'm looking for a place. It just so happened that my dad had a friend that had property in Jersey, and my dad gave me his friend's information. I called the guy. I saw the apartment. The first apartment was a basement apartment. It was a 1-bedroom. It was really small. And I was like, well, in my head, it was like, all right, well, this is temporary. I don't plan on living here for the rest of my life. But what really kind of was like the no-go for me in a sense was there was a small oven. So I also bake, I cook. And the kitchen portion for me was like, nah, I do like big orders, I bake, and this is not really gonna cut it for me. So I told him, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get married. He was like, well, then there's another apartment upstairs that's available. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. We went to go view that. I saw it. It was spacious. It was great. My fiance, she was apprehensive at first, but like I said earlier, we weren't gonna plan to stay there for the rest of our lives. This is just like the starting ground, the foundation of where we would live for the time being. So fast forwarding to like December 2019, heading into 2020. At that time, me and my fiance was not seeing eye to eye at all. It was starting to become very, toxic. January comes, 2020, we break up. Around March, COVID happens. So between January and March, you could say I started going to like a downward spiral emotionally, spiritually. Just there were so many different things that was happening. First of all, I'm living in New Jersey at the time. Again, it's not like I had a savings. I didn't have a savings or anything like that to move out, to live on my own. I was banking on us coming together as a unit to make things work together. We both had great ideas that would have set us up for financial stability later on. I know that sounds ignorant initially. However, I think my faith at the time was bigger than my integrity. It's not a preaching, but I'm being honest and I want to be transparent. So that happened, and so we're no longer together. In my head, I was like, well, I'm just gonna ride this out. I didn't have a place to go. I really didn't. My mom was gone. My sister was gone. They were all doing their own thing. So it's not like if I had a place to go back to. So, so we're talking about 2021. 2021 was a really, 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 really tough year for me. It was up and down emotionally. It was, and prior to that, the year before, I started dealing with anxiety, which I had never experienced before. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I started having like these weird stomach pains. My hands were shaking. I would start crying randomly. It was just really weird. And I went to the hospital a couple of times, and like I said, I didn't know what the heck was going on. There was a point in time where I felt like this physical thing on top of me, and it felt really heavy. Again, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to equate it to because I never experienced that before. I didn't know what the heck anxiety, or there's another terminology for it. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. So taking that year of 2019 to 2020 with anxiety, then you got COVID. So COVID happened. COVID happened. Everybody's going home from work. I still had to work. Thank God that I still had a job. The thing about that, though, is that we lost like 2.5 hours from work. So now my pay is short. I can't pay rent the way I want to. I have a car. I have to pay car note. I have to pay gas. I got to pay water bill. I got to pay rent. I got to make sure I got food in my house. I got to make sure I'm able to get to work. That's a whole nother story for another day, because we could talk about the stuff that I've accumulated over the course of COVID, but that's not for now. Anyways, back to 2020. So 2020. So I'm gonna fast forward into 2021. So towards the ending of 2020, I just started to try to make decisions to better my situation. I considered giving up my car. I considered giving my car back to the bank because my car is financed. Yes, my car is financed. So I considered giving my car back to the bank. I called the bank and I was like, hypothetically speaking, what would it look like if I was to give this car back to y'all? Like, what would it be like? And I got on the phone with the lady and she was like, well, hypothetically speaking, what would happen is you would set up a date for us to come and pick up the car. We would pick up the car. We would auction the car off. And let's say, hypothetically speaking, the car was worth $10,000 or $20,000. Let's say you had $20,000 left on your payments, right? And they auction and sell the car for $10,000. You would be responsible for that leftover $10,000. So I was like, okay, sounds good in a way. I mean, who would want to pay for something that they don't have? But then I was also looking at, like, if I don't have this car, I don't have to worry about gas. I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about a car note. All I have to worry is about the leftover payment. This is my way of thinking. Thank God for people with wisdom, because I ended up speaking to my pastors. I had a conversation with my pastors. And so I want to say this was around... I know it was around the fall that I had a conversation with them, and I told them, everything that was going on and things like that. And, they were trying to come up with ideas. My pastor was saying, she was like, how about you roommate with people? And I was like, roommate with people? I was like, I don't really like people like that. And I've had experiences with individuals living with them, and it ain't for me. I no. I was like, nah. I don't want to live with a stranger. I'm not too keen about stranger danger. My mama told me not to talk to strange people, and I took that into my adulthood. So I don't know how I feel about that. So she was like, okay. I mean, then it was like, you're gonna have to move back to New York. And I was like, well, how the heck am I gonna do that? I barely can make ends meet by myself in Jersey. The only way I see this working out is if I had a roommate. And then I even tried doing that, because I always said, if I was based off of my past experiences with roommates, I always said that if the next situation, if there was a next situation to go into, it would have to be with somebody that I know and trust, because I done had some experiences, and we could save them stories for another day, but I've had some experiences, and I'm just like, nah, this ain't for me. Because people get real funny they just get real funny, and no. So, I talked about giving up the car or whatever, and it was like, okay, fine, So then I think, like, I don't know if it was the next day, because honestly, everything that they were saying, I was like, nope. I was making faces. I was like, nah, that's not gonna work for me. So the next day she calls me. She said, I gotta talk to you. And she got me together. She got me all the way together. She was like, she was saying that the Lord... Okay, so before I get into that, I don't know what your faith is, but my faith is in Jesus Christ. So oftentimes you would hear me quote God. You would hear me quote Jesus. You would hear me quote a lot of scripture, whatever the case might be. So she called me. She was like, she said the Lord had pressed you in my spirit, and she had given me wisdom. She was like that. You are willing to sacrifice your name's sake for comfortability. And my eyes opened wide when she said that. I was like, I tell you, I don't like to be uncomfortable. I really don't. I don't like uncomfortable situations. If I have to be confrontational, then that's a different story. But I don't like uncomfortable situations. I don't like it at all. And which is going to lead up into my next situation or scenery, so to speak, after this, because after this I'll tell y'all what I did, my decision that I made. So she basically gave me an ultimatum. She was like, either you're gonna stay there and continue to be in debt and probably get into a worse situation, or you pick up and you move back to where there's more for you than there is in Jersey. So at this point, I'm like, all right, Lord, I hear you, but I'm scared. Because how we going to do this? You know what my pockets look like. You know I got 25 cents in my bank account. So how we finna do this? How you want me to just pick up and how? Fine. So I had to make a decision. I literally sat like 2 weeks, if I can remember correctly, like 2 weeks just thinking about it. So prior to that, one of my siblings reached out to me, and they had gotten a new apartment and they were offering me to stay with them. And I kindly turned down that offer. I'm not going to get into my reasons why, but I kindly turned down that offer due to personal reasons. But as I started to look at so I turned down the offer, but then I was like, well, where the heck am I going to go? I don't have nobody to stay with. All my family members pretty much got their houses already, everyone is already suited. And I was scared to go to a shelter. I used to be a security guard for a drop-off site that was next door to a MICA shelter. And if any of you don't know what MICA is, that's for mentally ill patients, such as specifically that one was for men. No, thank you. We used to share radio lines with them, and a couple of nights you would hear brawls happening next door and people going off on the radio talking about this one done stabbed this one with a broken. That's not for me. The shelter life is not. So, fine, let's move on. So I'm considering where I'm gonna go. So I'm like, Lord, you lead me. Where do you want me to go? So after I told my sister, well, let's think about it. My sibling asked me to move in, and then I turned it down, but then I reopened the invitation and I was like, well, look, if it's okay with you, can we work something out? So so I did that. We talked about it or whatever the case might be. But then I ended up one night I spent the night, or I went over to my aunt's house. And she proposed a proposition for me to go into there. So I'm like, okay, Lord, there's 2 openings. Which direction do you want me to go in? So for 2 months, or maybe a month, or a couple of weeks rather, because December, January, leading up into January, I wasn't sure what to do. Matter of fact, it was, I know it was somewhere in January. So my aunt proposes this proposition. She was like, you don't have to give anything. I just want you to come and do what you need to do, get on your feet and pay back your debt, build money, and then you go do whatever it is that you got to do. So now I'm stuck with this decision. I went back to my pastors and I told them, I was like, you know what, look, I'm moving back to New York. They also was the one suggested to me to go stay with my sibling. And I told them about the proposition that my aunt gave. And they was like, well, look, you have 2 propositions. You could choose which one you want to go to. So I prayed. I said, Lord, which one do you want me to go to? Long story short, I ended up deciding to go with my aunt. And the reason for that is that the Lord was having me do discipleship there, and God was doing things there, whatever the case might be. So fine, I decided to go to my aunt's house. When I tell y'all that the decision was a scary one. It was a very scary one in general, whether it was my aunt or my sibling. It was a very drastic and scary decision that I had to make. So I ended up making the decision, and I remember feeling scared. If I be 100% honest, I remember feeling scared. And I remember one day, I think it was the first or second week that after I moved there, I got on the train. Oh, well, let me backtrack. Sorry, let me backtrack. So I figured if I was going to make this decision, I was coming for everything that I don't even want to say that the enemy took. Because there's some things that we just give up. There's some things that we give over. There are some things that we just be like, well, to heck with it. I don't want to deal with this. I'm tired of this. There's just some things we just give up on and give over. So I don't even want to say that the enemy took. I want to say I handed it over. So I basically was coming for everything to snatch back that I gave over to the enemy. That was my education. That was my business. That was my mind, my education. That was my money. That was my health and body, right? Those things I gave up on because of depression, anxiety, and all those things that took place during 2020. 2020 leading into 2021, right? So 2021, let's go back to when I decided to move into my aunt's house. So I remember I got on the train to go to work. And I remember telling the Lord, I said, I am terrified. I'm scared because I don't know what this journey is going to look like. I don't know what this journey has for me. Y'all, I kid you not, as quick as I thought the thought, I had a vision. And in the vision was me holding my hands like this, right? And my hands, my fingers were cracked a little bit, right? So I had my hands over my face, and in the vision I was holding God's hands, and we were walking through a wilderness. I could barely see anything. But knowing that God was with me, I felt peace. I felt at peace. So I ended up writing a journal entry called The Journey, and I'll share that with y'all at another time because it's in my phone and I'm actually using my phone to record. Like I said, I'm new to this, so I really don't know what I'm doing. At some point, I'm gonna get better. So I wrote a journal entry. It's called Journey, and basically the sum of it was, even though I'm on this escapade, even though I'm on this walk, and I don't know what's gonna happen, I don't know what's gonna take place, I'm at peace knowing that God is with me. So, that started happening, and things seemed to be really happening in the beginning of 2021. Like I said, I was coming for everything. Was coming for my spirituality. I was going in. I would say around the summer, things started to take a left. Things started to happen. I felt like things were just coming my way. There were so many different things coming my way. There was just different avenues and stuff coming my way. I had a falling out with my sibling. And it wasn't much of a falling out, but it was the beginning stages of a falling out. And the thing about it was that it was very confusing. It was very confusing. And I thought I was bugging out. So when that falling out the process of the falling out happened, I began to lose focus on the things that I had set out to do. I began to look at my situation. I began to look at my circumstances. I began to look at my finances again. I began to look at the negative things that were taking place. I began to look at the words that were exchanged, or the things that were said to me, or the hurtful things that were said to me, and they began a spiral down. It's ironic because I didn't think I was going to make it out of 2020. And 2021, I didn't think I was going to make it to 2022. In all aspects, spiritually, emotionally, physically, I really didn't think. And I know people are probably thinking, well, why so drastic? Why so drastic? Honestly, I don't know why so drastic. But the truth of the matter is, your boy was going through it. And, while I was going through it, I don't know if anybody else feels like this, and you could comment below. But oftentimes, when you go through, you feel like you're going through by yourself. And through the entire time of the things that happened in 2021, I felt like I was by myself. I felt like I was fighting by myself. I felt like I was swinging on my own. I remember I told one of my sisters in my congregation, I said, yo, I really feel like me and Satan is going at it, and I'm on the floor, but I'm still swinging. Like, I'm not giving up. I'm still swinging, but I'm on the floor. But I'm still swinging. But I'm down. I'm not out, but I'm down. But I'm still swinging. So I remember telling her that. And like I said, a bunch of things took place. I can't really get into detail, and I'm not going to get into detail because it just requires a lot that I'm not trying to get into. The whole purpose of this is to be testimonial, so we're not trying to be messy. That's not what we're about. So moving forward, I gave up on a lot of things in 2021. I think, actually, let me not say that. Let me take that back. I gave up my focus in 2021. I gave up my focus. But the thing about me as an individual, the thing about me is that I've always been a fighter. I've always been somebody that when challenges come, if I don't understand it in that moment, I'll put it down for like a hot second, but I'll always come back to it to try to figure it out again. I've never been one to really give up, even though it seems like I'm giving up. I've never been someone to just put something down and never ever go back to it. I've been that way my entire life. And so I can't really say that I gave up, because I didn't. I was trying to figure out what the hell happened and what was going on. But while I'm trying to figure that out, I'm still getting beat up on, if that makes sense. I'm still getting attacked. I'm still getting lied on and talked about, right? And so with all that, I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm going to get a little candid. I've always felt like I had to do things on my own. I always felt like I had to do things by myself. I always felt like I was by myself. So coming into Christianity, I kind of brought that mindset with me. And, there's a scripture that says that vengeance is mine. Don't take up any vengeance for yourself, because vengeance is mine. I kind of was not allowing God to be God and fight my battles. But a lot of things this year taught me how to put down my strength and pick up God's strength. A lot of things in 2021, rather, let me fix what I'm saying. A lot of things in 2021 taught me how to really, 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 really depend on God and trust in Him and rely on Him, and put down what I know as a defense mechanism and really rely on Him. And for years, it's kind of baffling to me, because to yourself, you would never say this out loud, but your actions scream this, what I'm about to say. You're not going to defend me like how I would defend me. You won't get my back how I got your back, how I would get my back. And there's a bunch of scripture that completely trumps my ideal or my ideology, right? It totally comes against it, tears it down. One of those ideas is even when if you read I don't know the exact Psalm, I think it's Psalms 18 or Psalms 118. It talks about David, and David talks about how he cried out to the Lord, and it talks about how Jesus or God, it talks about how God came to his rescue, but he came in such a violent way. And not only did he come, but he also taught David how to fight. Again, it's another topic for another day. Moving on. So, leading into the ending periods of 2021, after that, I went through the stuff that I went through. I had a come to Jesus moment. I had a come to Jesus moment. And I said to myself, yo, what the heck are you doing? What are you doing? You have so much talent. You have so many giftings that God gave you that is not of your own for you to even keep to yourself. What are you doing? Why are you allowing the circumstances of things to hold you down? Why are you allowing the situations to bring you down when they should be building you up? When they should be building spiritual muscles. And truth be told, that's exactly what they did. Even though it seemed like I lost some, even though it seemed like I gave up on some, they built spiritual muscles that even now I can say that I'm using God's strength in certain areas of my life, right? I remember after I had my come to Jesus moment, and don't expect after you have your come to Jesus moment for things to just happen abracadabra. No. I had my come to Jesus moment, I still was a little funky. One Sunday I got ministered to. And while I was going through, I'm pretty sure people picked it up, but nobody really, I don't want to say that they didn't expose it, whatever, but I'm pretty sure they knew I was going through. But I never really spoke about it either. I never really opened up. I never really talked about it. I never really addressed it to people. Maybe a few things here and there, but nothing too in depth. I gave surface answers, whatever. But I got ministered to. And one of the things that was ministered to me, I remember it was my deacon and my brother ministering to me. And I can't remember the full ministry right now, but one thing that I held on to, or a couple of things that I held on to, but one of the things that stuck out the most was when my brother whispered in my ear and he said, "You thought that this was the end for you." Y'all, I didn't know whether to be cool or come out of a bag. I didn't know what to do with myself. I wanted to crawl within myself and hide and crawl into a rock. I cried so bad, y'all. Oh man. I really thought that 2021 was the end. I wholeheartedly believed that lie, that 2021 was the end. I really did. I really, really, really believed it. And when he said that, I didn't know what to do with myself. I never shared that with anybody. It literally was just in my heart between me and God. So when he said that, it was like a domino effect, because even after that ministry, I was like, nah, bro, we got to, because it was ministered to me that it's not the end, that the Lord was changing my perception about things, and that he would show me real love through people that really cared for me. I'm not going to get into the full ministry or whatever the case might be. So ironically, in 2021, one of the things that I was doing was, aside from journaling, I started video journaling, and I kept it to myself. Some things I put on Instagram, some things I kept to myself. It was more things that was inspired by the Holy Spirit that I will put on Instagram, and then other things that was personal I kept to myself on my phone. But I'm gonna say this. I believe that 2021 was a setup for 2022. I don't know what this year has in store, but I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm doing this video now. And I want to share with any one of you here on this platform that don't give up. Don't give up on any dream that you have. Don't give up on any idea that God has given you. Don't give up. And even if you gotta make a couple of mistakes sometimes, that's all right too. That means that you're learning from your mistakes. That means that you learn not what to do the next time you decide to do it again. So then when you get to that level of success, you can say, hey, well, I done messed up this amount of times, but this amount of times taught me that I could how to do it right this time, and this is how I'm successful today. So 2022, I don't know what it holds. This is my first video. Doing YouTube again has been in my mind and in my spirit for quite a long time. So it's not a coincidence that I'm doing it now. Yeah, I'm excited for 2022. I'm excited. I'm excited for myself. I'm excited for those around me, because one thing I'm a firm believer about is that when you're blessed, everybody around you is blessed. When you eat, everybody around you eat. So this was my video. This was my I guess you could say testimony in a way. If you want to hear more, like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell on the side, and you pray for me and I pray for you.